In exactly 47 seconds, $127 billion in EU climate funds became the center of the most explosive political confrontation in European Parliament history. Alice Weidel didn't wait for diplomatic pleasantries. She slammed the document marked Sondervollmacht Energy Transition onto the podium and began reading. Cameras zoomed in. The chamber fell silent. What did Alternative für Deutschland just reveal that sent von der Leyen's entire political machine into damage control mode? I'm watching this unfold from the press gallery in Strasbourg, and the tension in the room is suffocating. Just minutes after Weidel's devastating exposé of what she calls the greatest financial scandal in EU history, Weidel Chrupalla, AfD's federal co-chair, has taken the microphone. This isn't the usual parliamentary theater. This is a coordinated political assassination. The opening salvo came at 1427 Central European time. Weidel, representing the AfD faction, didn't deliver a speech about immigration or sovereignty. She brought receipts. Internal commission documents, obtained through a Freedom of Information request that took 8 months to process, showing a labyrinthine network of climate fund diversions that bypasses normal parliamentary oversight. The specific allegation is breathtaking in its scope. According to Weidel's evidence, $127.4 billion allocated for the European Green Deal's Just Transition Fund has been channeled through subsidiary organizations that exist only on paper. Shell companies registered in Luxembourg, operational addresses that lead to empty offices, and board members who are either fictitious or connected to von der Leyen's inner circle. Chrupalla rises to his feet, adjusting his glasses with the deliberate precision of a prosecutor about to deliver a closing argument. The chamber is dead quiet. Even the simultaneous translators seem to be holding their breath. He begins with a question that cuts through the political noise like a blade. Frau von der Leyen, can you explain to the citizens of Germany why Transition Energy Solutions GmbH, a company that received $890 million in climate funds, employs exactly 3 people and operates from a mail forwarding service in Düsseldorf? The cameras immediately cut to von der Leyen. Her face is a mask of controlled fury, but her hands tell a different story. She's gripping her prepared notes so tightly that the papers are crumpling. This isn't a question she was expecting. This isn't a battle she's prepared to fight on live television with 500 million Europeans watching. Chrupalla continues, his voice steady but relentless. He produces a second document, this one bearing the official seal of the European Court of Auditors. This internal audit, completed 6 weeks ago but mysteriously never released to Parliament, identifies $23.7 billion in irregular transactions within the climate transition portfolio. The auditors use the term systemic manipulation of fund allocation procedures. The political theater transforms into something much more dangerous. The center-right EPP members, normally von der Leyen's reliable defenders, are shifting uncomfortably in their seats. The Greens, who championed these very climate funds, look stunned. Renew Europe, Macron's Liberal Alliance, is frantically checking phones and tablets. Nobody seems to know how to respond to evidence this specific, this damaging, this impossible to dismiss with standard political rhetoric. Von der Leyen finally stands, but instead of moving to the podium, she signals to her chief of staff. The whispered conversation lasts exactly 23 seconds. When she finally approaches the microphone, her first words reveal the magnitude of the crisis. The honorable member's allegations are based on incomplete information taken out of context. It's a catastrophic response. By not denying the document's authenticity, she's essentially confirmed that Weidel and Chrupalla have legitimate evidence. By calling the information incomplete, she's admitting there's more damaging material she doesn't want revealed. The political veterans in the chamber understand immediately. This is what a cover-up sounds like when it's falling apart in real time. Chrupalla senses the vulnerability and moves for the kill. Frau Präsidentin, you speak of context. Here is the context. He holds up a USB drive. This contains 847 pages of email correspondence between Commission officials and climate fund recipients. emails discussing flexibility in documentation requirements and alternative verification procedures. Would you like me to read some examples? The threat hangs in the air like smoke from a political funeral pyre. Von der Leyen's entire career, built on technocratic competence and European integration, is suddenly balanced on the edge of a knife held by two politicians she has spent years dismissing as populist extremists. The room erupts, not in the theatrical way Parliament usually responds to controversial statements, but with the genuine chaos of an institution that has just realized it might be witnessing the end of an era. Socialist MEPs are demanding point of order. The far-right patriots for Europe are pounding their desks in triumphant rhythm. The center is collapsing into confused murmurs and frantic phone calls. Through it all, Chrupalla remains at the podium, motionless except for the slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. He has spent 8 years in opposition, watching the European elite dismiss AfD as irrelevant nationalists. Today, he holds documents that could bring down the most powerful woman in European politics. Von der Leyen attempts to regain control. The Commission operates under the highest standards of financial transparency. Any suggestions of irregularity will be investigated through proper channels. But her voice lacks conviction. The prepared talking points sound hollow against the specificity of Chrupalla's allegations. He strikes again, this time with surgical precision. Proper channels, like the internal investigation initiated by Director General Klaus-Heiner Lehne in September 2025. The investigation that was mysteriously terminated 3 weeks later when Lehne was reassigned to a special advisory role with no staff, no office, and no responsibilities. The attack is devastating because it's not ideological, it's forensic. Chrupalla isn't ranting about national sovereignty or immigration. He's dismantling von der Leyen's administration with the methodical precision of an accountant auditing a failed company. Every allegation comes with names, dates, amounts, and documentation that can be verified independently by any investigative journalist or opposition researcher. The broader implications are becoming clear to everyone in the chamber. If even a fraction of these allegations prove accurate, the European Green Deal, the centerpiece of von der Leyen's presidency, isn't just politically damaged. It's potentially the largest financial scandal in EU history, making previous corruption cases look like minor bookkeeping errors. But there's another dimension to this confrontation that makes it particularly dangerous for the Brussels establishment. Chrupalla and Weidel aren't isolated populist voices anymore. They represent a growing alliance of Eurosceptic parties that now hold significant power in national governments across the continent. Italy's Giorgia Meloni, the Netherlands' Geert Wilders, and Hungary's Viktor Orban have all expressed support for full transparency in EU financial operations. This coordinated challenge means von der Leyen can't simply dismiss the AfD's allegations as fringe extremism. She's facing a multi-front war from established political actors who command respect in European capitals and have access to government resources for independent investigation. The timing is equally problematic. With European Parliament elections approaching and several national governments facing their own corruption scandals, any hint of financial mismanagement at the EU level provides ammunition for politicians arguing that Brussels has become an unaccountable bureaucratic empire that operates beyond democratic oversight. Chrupalla seems to understand the broader strategic importance of this moment. He's not just attacking von der Leyen personally, he's systematically undermining the legitimacy of the entire European project by questioning whether EU institutions can be trusted with taxpayer money from sovereign nations. The USB drive in his hand represents more than evidence of potential fraud. It symbolizes the democratization of information in an age where government transparency can no longer be controlled by traditional media gatekeepers or political elites. If these documents are released publicly, they will be analyzed by thousands of independent researchers, economists, and journalists across multiple countries. Market responses are already visible on the screens that line the press gallery. The euro has dropped 0.6% against the dollar in the past 20 minutes. Green energy stocks are tumbling across European exchanges. The political crisis is becoming an economic crisis in real time. Behind the scenes, emergency phone calls are being made to national capitals. French President Emmanuel Macron's office has reportedly been briefed on the allegations. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, already facing pressure over his own government's economic policies, now must confront the possibility that his European allies have been mismanaging climate funds that include significant German contributions. For von der Leyen personally, the stakes couldn't be higher. She built her political career on competent technocratic management and her commitment to European integration. If Chrupalla's allegations prove accurate, she faces not just resignation but potential criminal prosecution. European prosecutors have already demonstrated their willingness to pursue high-level corruption cases, regardless of political consequences. The institutional damage could be irreversible. The European Commission's authority rests on member states' trust that Brussels can manage shared resources responsibly. If that trust fractures, the entire architecture of European cooperation becomes unstable. As Chrupalla concludes his intervention, the fundamental question facing European politics becomes unavoidable. Is this the moment when the populist challenge to the European establishment finally found the ammunition it needed to bring down the entire system? The silence in the chamber suggests that everyone present understands the historical weight of this moment. Traditional party loyalties and ideological divisions seem irrelevant when confronted with evidence of potential financial misconduct on this scale. Von der Leyen's final response will determine whether the EU weathers another political storm or enters a constitutional crisis that could reshape the continent. The silence in the chamber suggests that everyone present understands the historical weight of this moment. The revolution isn't coming from the streets this time. It's coming from two politicians with USB drives and 8 months' worth of freedom of information requests. And for the first time in decades, the European elite looks genuinely afraid.